Okie doke. Well, I guess we're up to lesson 5. We're getting into it. And what we're looking at on the chart on the screen now is just the meta editor. And it's just showing the EA we've been sort of putting together so far during the course. And just to recap, we now have 2 RSI requirements to enter the market. You know, the RSI needs to go. It needs to go below 30 and then come back above 30 or whatever value we set for RSI, and then it'll get into the market. Obviously, we've got all the criteria here at the moment simply to take out buy orders. We would need to just have an if statement here. Oh, I might as well do it. I'll just copy all of that trade logic for the buy orders. And we're going to do exactly the same, except we're going to say it needs to go let me get this right, greater than RSI. We'll call that high for RSI high, and then it needs to go back down underneath RSI high, which just means we need to stick in a second user input up here. Oops, equals 70. And obviously then we'll be looking to place a sell order. Not even close to spelling that right, hey? Place sell order. There we go. And so we've got place buy order. That was a function we wrote down below this code. We need to write a similar function for place sell order to place a sell order. Where was it? It was pretty basic. Normally we'd write a bit more code, and at some stage we'll expand upon this as well. But I'm just going to do up another void. You don't have to call these void as well. They can be integers or bools or doubles, depending on what you're getting them to do as well. From my understanding so far, void just sort of covers anything you want it to do. So void covers everything, whereas integer has to be returning a whole number, double, a decimal, etc. And we'll just call this one place sell order. And I'll just copy all of it, I guess. Copy that, put it in there. And let's see what we need to change. Obviously, we need to change it to a sell order. Still going to use the same lot size, but we're going to place it at the current bid price instead of the ask price. And the stop loss is also going to have to be bid. But because we're going the other way, we'll have to make it a plus the stop loss. And with the take profit, it's going to have to be bid minus the take profit. Just because we're going in the opposite direction with that trade. Other than that, that's all the same. And let's see if that'll compile for us. It won't compile. Last lesson, I did some code and it compiled easily for me. But I think it's important to see how you troubleshoot when you get errors. So I'll just check that, and it's on line 50, the error, which is up here. And what's it saying? It's got an unexpected token. So yeah, I've got a little comma in there when I shouldn't. And now it's all good. I reckon you could teach the um, troubleshooting course pretty well by now, Aaron.
Yeah, no, I've seen quite a few errors and tried fixing them and get my head around it. Getting there.
Hang on, I need to turn my volume up apparently. Didn't hear what you said, sorry. Alrighty, I am going to um, jump over onto another one of my things here. I just want to grab some code off another EA to save me typing it all out. I'll just find it. All right, so we've got that in place and it compiles fine. So we should probably put it on the back tester here and see if it takes out buys and sells for us. Let me see if I've got, yeah. So all we're looking for is for this to go below 30 and then come back above, and it should take out a trade. I'll just jump down to a lower time frame so it all happens quicker. Okay, it's gone below 30. And now it's gone back above, so it's taken out trades. So we know our trade logic's working for the buys. We already knew that though. We want to check the sells out. I think it's pretty obvious that our take profits and stop losses are probably too close there, but doesn't matter. We just wanted to see what we would do. Hopefully it'll go up above 70 and go below, just so we know all our trade logic is working. And there we go. It's gone up above. It doesn't look quite right because it didn't come back below. So this is how I troubleshoot. I make the code how I think it should be. I make sure it compiles first, and then I'll watch it on the visual mode. And here I can see an error here that it just kept taking out sell orders. So it's doing sell orders like I wanted it to, that's fine. But I didn't want it to do until this crossed back down below 70. So there must be a little error in our cells. So we wanted it had to go above the RSI which had to go above the 70 and then had to go above the 70. I just had the wrong, had to have a less than symbol instead of a greater than. And compile. So that would be the only error. I don't even need to redo it. I know that's the case. And I don't want to spend the whole time back testing. And so what I would do then, once I realized that all the trade logic was playing out as I expected it, I'd take it off visual mode after I stop it. And I just pick first to the ninth to the, let's just, there we go. First to the ninth to the first to the 10th. So we're just back testing 1 month. And I will just change these stop losses to 300 and a take profit of just 1-to-1 risk to reward there for the moment. And I mean, I won't do too much back testing because we did some on the lesson before last. I'll just put these all back to 30 and 70 though. And we'll just watch how it goes for the month. And look at that, we made money. We actually made 9.5% for the month and only 4% drawdown. If only it could do a whole year like that, we'd be laughing already. I didn't want it to be that good. I wanted to show you how we needed to add more criteria. Let's go. For, oh, we can't go up to there. We've got about 6 or 7 months worth there now. Let's see how it goes over that longer period of time. So that other back test we did just for 1 month, we must have picked the only one good month where everything went perfectly for that code that we had. And that's something that can happen, you know, like, yeah, you get your code, it's working perfectly over a full month and you think you got it, and then you back test it over a bigger period of time and you realise that that was just a lucky month, really. So if we have a look here, we've lost, that's the equivalent of 32% over a full year. They're still better than most traders. But at the moment, the only criteria we have in our code is that the RSI needs to go above or below the set parameters and then come back. That's the only requirement there is. Then we just need to start looking at, you know, what else we can add. And something that I add on most of my EAs is to add some code to calculate the current trend and possibly the current trend on higher time frames as well, and require those trends to line up, as well as have the RSI do its thing. And that can make a big difference. Like, I think anybody that's really done any trading understands that you should always be trading with the trend, one trend, you know, at least a higher time frame trend anyway. Otherwise, you're really going to run into issues, losing money issues. So we don't have too many people on tonight, so I might forego doing that just for the moment. Oh, no, let's do it. I will just grab the code from over here though. I'll grab this one. And now that you're starting to get more and more code here, it can get confusing. So you should really remember the 2 backslashes just means whatever's on this line doesn't count towards the coding now. So it's good for adding notes and that. I would just call it RSI calculations, so we know what's down there is that. And this one is just going to calculate the 1 hour trend for me. Now, I've played around a lot with, so a moving average is just calculating the average price for a given number of candles. And I've played around a lot when I first started making EAs, trying to work out what was the best. And I fine-tuned it down to 58 candles, gave me the best moving average to calculate the trend. I mean, that's not always the number of candles you want to use, depending on what you want your moving average to do. But for calculating a trend, that's what I like to use. So all it's doing is it's assigning a value to HR1 trend, assigning a value to old HR1 trend. And what it's assigning is IMA is just the code for a moving average. So that's the moving average indicator. That's how I can pull in info from that. And like a lot of them, you've got to put in the symbol. So underscore symbol is just the current chart symbol. And we're going to do it for the H1 time frame. And for 58 candles, we're not using that one. I forget what it is actually, but there's a few different versions of moving averages. You can have simple moving averages. There's a few different ones. But we're using simple moving average and we're basing it off the close price of that candle. And this 0 here indicates the current candle. And the old 1 hour trend, we're assigning all the same, except we're looking at starting 10 candles ago. So we're looking at 58 candles starting from the current one, and then 58 candles starting from the 10th one, meaning that the old 1 hour trend is going to be 10 candles old. And down here, we just take the 1 hour trend and subtract. We take the 1 hour trend and we subtract the old 1 hour trend, and we'll get a value that's either negative or positive. If the value is positive, it means the trend is going up or the moving average line is going upwards. If the value is negative, it means the moving average line is going down. And we'll just put a comment in here, which we'll just call, I'm going to go just put in a little calculation here, which will be if trend 1 hour, so that's the 1 hour trend minus the old 1 hour trend. If it's less than 0, and in curly brackets, we'll just do just call it TR1, just because I have in a lot of my EAs. TR1 will equal buy. Else, TR1 equals sell. And we'll just need to initialize what TR1 is. So we'll just put one in up here for it. And it's going to be a string because it's letters, string, TR1. And we don't need to assign a value to it at all there. Are we compiling okay yet? No. Unbalanced parentheses, that's the one that Aaron likes. So it's obviously just on the code that I've just created here. I just used a normal bracket instead of a curly bracket. $53. Oh, I didn't finish the comment. That's the problem. Comment TR1. So compile. There we go. And so now it's calculating the 1 hour trend for us. And then if we come down to our actual trade logic, so we're just going to add another requirement before it'll place a buy order. So that new trade logic is simply going to be that we could, I'll do it this way because I normally do. We want the trend 1 hour. We require that for a buy order, we are going to require the trend 1 hour. So we're going to require the trend to be going up, which means that this value needs to be greater than 0. And that's all. And we just need to put the same thing in, but less than for the sell order criteria. If we had some people that didn't know too much about trading, they'd no doubt be asking questions now. Alrighty, so now what it should do is it's going to, so I was running this on the 15-minute time frame. That's why I made a 1 hour trend, because I wanted to pull in a higher time frame trend. And so it's, if the 1 hour trend's going up, it's only going to be looking to take out buy orders. So, it doesn't matter what the RSI does. If the RSI goes above 70 and back down, it's not going to do a sell order because it's only looking to do buys on the 1 hour trend, 1 hour buy trend, and obviously the opposite for the sells if the 1 hour trend's going down. And it should also print up in the top left-hand corner whether the current 1 hour trend is a buy or a sell. That compiles, and we'll just check that out. Oops, start visual mode and start. Okay, so it's telling us that the current 1 hour trend is a sell. So we need it to go above and then below, and it'll take out. Nearly. Okay, it's gone above, but it didn't take out trades this time because we fixed that code. And it just went below and it didn't take out a trade. So there's obviously an issue there somewhere. So I would just stop that and just take it off visual mode and see if it actually takes out any trades at all. So we can see it is actually taking out trades. Just have a look and see, but it's only taking out buy trades. I know it's taking out sell trades as well. Why didn't it take one out there? Not quite sure why it didn't, but we can see it's taking out both buys and sells. I just thought it should have taken a sell there before though. So it went above RSI high and below RSI, and the trend was down. And if it's not quite doing what you want, like in this case, I thought it should have taken a trade when it didn't. You just add more and more comments. So instead of commenting the trend, I might change it to comment the RSI, sorry, the RSI H value. So now we can see if it's going up and below or not. And that'll help us troubleshoot exactly where the issue is. You've got to get good at troubleshooting. Oops. So that's not the right thing to put in because that's the value that we actually set. We need to get it to print the RSI, current RSI value. And now when you run him, it's showing us the current RSI value. And so we can see that it's sort of in the middle between 70 and 30. So that should be pretty accurate. And we're up to 66. So it's gone above 70. And now it's gone below 70 and it hasn't taken out a trade. So there's a little issue there somewhere, for sure. But I don't want to get into troubleshooting exactly why that is tonight, because there's a little bit more I want to get through. But on the next lesson, we'll work out, I'll probably work out before the lesson and show you what the issue was there. The other little thing I wanted to touch on, because it's important and you don't see a lot of it about, is, you know, anyone that's done any manual trading understand that, you know, the actual patterns and the length and the size and what the candles are doing can play a big part in them deciding when they're going to enter the market and buys or sells. So candles are important, but there aren't too many indicators to actually, you know, tell you what each individual candle is doing. So sometimes you've got to work that out yourself. And so for an example, I'm going to just touch on the direction that Ben's doing with the EA he's trying to create, and that's working out the fair value gap. And without getting into exactly what that is too much or trying to pinpoint it too much, because we'll do that and get technical later, is it's a three candle pattern basically. So if we have a look at this candle here, we can see that the top of the wick is there. And then if, so that's that one, the second candle, and the third candle, the bottom of the third candle is there, which means the bottom of the third candle and the top of the first candle, there's a gap. And that's what they call a fair value gap. Other criteria will play a part. That's not enough on its own, but I want to start thinking about how you can use code to determine if there is a gap. Because like 1, 2, 3 candles there's no gap there. 1, 2, 3, there's no gaps there. So all of these well, there's a gap there, but most of them there are no gaps. But we do have a gap here, and code to create that. Let's just start up a new little EA. And we're not going to get, hang on. CC for coding course. So we'll just do a little bit of work here in the on tick section. So we can, let me just grab a little bit of code from here somewhere, just to save me typing it all out. So this particular code here, let's just give this a value. So we're just giving a value to a word we've made up called candle one high. So the I high code, it's just going to return the highest value for this particular candle. So the highest value for the last candle, not the current one, but the last one on the current chart time frame and on the current chart symbol. So we said there was the fair value gap was a three candle pattern. So we're going to need to know about three different candles. And we'll call one candle 1 high, candle 2 high, and candle 3 high. So we're going to look at the last candle, the candle before that, and the one before that one. So not the current candle. We're going to look at the one before that, the one before that, and the one before that. So now we know the high value of the last three candles. What we're also going to need to know is going to be the low values of all of those as well. We'll just pull them low. And instead of L high, the code is L low. Oops. And for the same three candles. So now we've got actual data on the last three candles. So we've got the high value and the low value of the last three candles. Now we just need to put in a little bit of logic to try and see if there's a gap between the first candle and the second and the third candle. I won't make this Zoom go much longer, but so we use the if statements. And if there'll be a few ways this could work as a gap going up and the gap going down. So like a bullish fair value gap or a bearish fair value gap. But we'll just do the logic for a bullish fair value. Hang on. Going on the chart we're looking at before, that would have been a bearish fair value gap. So we'll just do the logic to determine if that was true or not. So we need to know the third one, we need to know the low value of it. So if candle 3 low so if the lowest point of that third candle is greater than the highest value of the first candle, then that means there's a gap. And yeah, that's as far as I'll go with that tonight. But there is one other criteria that you need for it to be a real fair, like if it's a bearish fair value gap, that middle candle also needs to be a bearish candle. So we need the bottom of the third one to be higher than the top of the third one. And the other criteria we need is for I won't do this tonight because it needs more code, but that would mean that there is a gap between the first three. The other criteria we need to know is we need to know the open price of the middle candle and the close price of that middle candle. And that's the same thing, except for I high, we'd be looking for I close. So, we can, there's an I close code. So that would return the close value. So we just, one more little bit before we knock off for today. I'll just use the middle one for the moment because that's all we need. Copy. We'll paste that in there. And we'll do another one for him. So we need to find out the close price of that middle candle and the open price of that middle candle. And now in our logic here, which would sort of be our logic to determine if it's a fair value gap or not, we'd need to just add one more criteria, and that would be that candle to we better give this another name, open and close. So we need the open price of that second candle we need the open price to be higher than the close price for it to be a bearish candle. So we need it to be greater than the close price. And then you'd say that then that would give the FVG equals true if you wanted to. That might be just a condition to see if you found a fair value gap. We have to do something like that so that it should compile. Look at that, no errors. Anyway, so that was just an example, but you can see, we've just used this code to bring in information about the candle. So the high price, the low price, open price, close price. So each line is just bringing a little bit of information about those candles. And with this if statement, we've used that to work out if there is a gap, a bullish gap or a bearish gap. You can use similar things to work out, you might want to, I don't know, I'm just making this up on the spur at the moment, but you might want to see if you're getting 3 bullish candles in a row. That might be something you need in your logic in order to perhaps take out a trade. So you just need the open and close price of all 3 candles, and you could just do exactly this here to see if all 3 candles were bullish candles or all 3 bearish candles, and that could play a part in your criteria for entering the market. So once you have all of these little bits of information about the candles, you can juggle the if statement around however you want so that EA knows exactly what those candles are doing and whether they line up the way you want them to in order for, in this case, an FVG to be true, or for it to be bullish momentum or bearish momentum or whatever you're looking for. All right, so that's all I wanted to go through today. You got any questions about that, guys? We hadn't really talked about candles yet, and it's very easy to bring in a little bit of information on the candles and play with that information however you like to come up with some logic about what the market's actually doing.
That's very handy. I was just about to get onto something like that with either like double tops, double bottoms and things, but now I can see the way to do it.
Go, sorry.
Just with a fair value gap, does that is it applicable on all the time frame sort of thing, or is it only certain larger time frames?
Well, a fair value gap could be on any time frame, really. It's just depending on the rest of your trade logic, it'll hold more importance on one more than another.
Yep.
And it sort of depends on what time frames you're trading. Like if you only, you might be looking for, a lot of strategies are like this. You might be looking for the fair value gap or support or resistance or whatever it is you're looking for on the 15-minute chart, but then you might be going down to the 5-minute or the 1 minute to fine tune that to get a much more precise entry point. So you look for something on the higher time frame, you go down to the 1 minute or the 5 minute, whatever you like, and look for the market structure to change, for example. just so you know the market is actually turning, and then you could jump into the trade. Just one quick little thing specifically for you to think about, Aaron, when you're talking about looking for double bottoms or anything like that.
Yep.
Or just looking for a high point or a range or support or anything like that. So really, let's talk about a double bottom. You're looking for the market to come down, bounce, and then come back down to almost the same area and bounce again. So just because you have two candles that are on that same level of support, for example, that doesn't mean nothing. You just sort of need that bounce and that bounce to call it a double bottom. So
Yeah,
you need to try and come up with code to work out what that double bottom is. And it can get quite technical to really fine tune that. But for a good starting point for you, find the lowest low candle here, but then also check 4 or 5 candles either side to make sure they're all less than this one. Because if it just came down and consolidated right there and then came up, that wouldn't be a double bottom. But if it came down and the previous candles were coming down, you found the bottom, and then the next candles came up, and then a bit later you had the same. My point is, you don't just need to find this candle and this candle. You need to look at what the ones either side of that candle are doing to make sure it's actually doing a bounce. And I do that simply by finding this low candle and then checking either side to make sure 4 or 5 candles either side are all like the lowest point of all these candles are actually higher than this one. So you found a low bottom, and it's actually a bounce, not just coming down and sitting there for a while.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That essentially is all done just like this. I mean, you can come up with some more technical code to condense it and everything if you're at that sort of level, but you can write 50 lines of code. I'm exaggerating. You could write 20 lines of code to see if it's a bounce, and then you could write another 20 lines of code to find the second bounce. But if you understand coding a bit better, you can sort of condense that so that the same 10 lines of code finds both bounces for you. And I'm sort of at the area in my coding abilities now where I've got a lot of EAs and code that works really well. But from a coding point of view, it's a bit messy because I've got twice as many lines of code as I need. So I'm sort of condensing it and, just prettying up the code more than anything. It's not going to change the way the EA works, but it's going to be more efficient, easy to find and look at, and you use a lot less lines of code, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes a bit of time to get up to that level.
Plus, myself, I find that really basic code, even though it's more and probably messy, and it's probably just because of the level I'm at, I find that easier to troubleshoot. I need to get that messy, long-winded code to work properly because I know how to troubleshoot that properly, and then I can condense it. And I need to make sure what I'm trying to do works first, and then I'll look at condensing it and make it look prettier. Anyway, I'm going to call that quits for tonight, guys.
Yeah, no, that was good. Really helpful.
I think you could, even with a limited knowledge of coding, I think you could just talk on and on and on about it, really.